Imagine this. You open your eyes one random Tuesday, grab your phone like every other day, and there it is, one email that ends 27 years of your blood, sweat, and soul in a single cold line. Report to the top floor. Bring nothing electronic. That was my life on December 30th, 2025. I'm 50 now, and what happened next is the kind of story that makes your chest tight and your fists clench. Because if you've ever been treated like you're disposable after giving everything, this one is going to hit you right in the heart. That I built their entire empire with my own hands. They threw me out like trash, and I made them pay the price they never thought they'd have to face. Let's dive in. The email came at 7:12 in the morning. I was already up, sitting in my home office with my third coffee, staring at lines of code that had kept me awake half the night. That's just who I am. When something is broken, I fix it. Doesn't matter if the sun is up or not. The message was short and brutal. Report to the executive floor at 8:30 to bring nothing electronic. Do not reply, no name at the bottom. No explanation. Just ice-cold corporate speak. I knew right then. 27 years at Vanguard Cyber Solutions. I walked in when we were just 16 people crammed into a dusty old auto shop on the outskirts of Austin. Back then, most of the world still thought keeping computers safe meant buying a cheap antivirus disk from the store. We were different. We built unbreakable walls for the military, systems that kept soldiers alive by protecting their secrets. The heart of everything we ever sold. The thing they called Sentinel Protocol. I created that in my garage back in 2004, during the worst scare after 9/11. 3 huge defense companies got hacked in the same week. Clients were screaming. The Pentagon was ready to rip up every contract we had. That I didn't sleep for 81 hours straight. Just coffee, fear, and pure determination. I wrote something that could learn from attacks as they happened and change itself faster than any human could. That one piece of work became the foundation for every single thing Vanguard built afterward. Right now, today, it's worth more than $900 million in government contracts alone, and they wanted me upstairs with empty pockets. I took a shower, put on my best charcoal suit, the one I only wore for meetings with generals, grabbed my old Navy ball cap for the drive, and headed in. The elevator ride to the 14th floor felt like it took forever. Jackson Reed was already there, sitting behind the big desk like he owned the world. 34 years old. Perfect haircut. Watch that cost more than most people's houses. He'd been CEO for less than 2 years, ever since his dad passed away. He loved throwing around words like disrupt and legacy, like they were weapons. He didn't even stand up. Sit down, Ethan. I didn't move. He sighed like I was the one wasting his time. We're making engineering leaner, faster, more modern. Your way of doing things, it just doesn't fit where we're going. I felt the laugh come out before I could stop it. Small, bitter, you're firing me. We're calling it a mutual separation. You'll get 6 months pay, full benefits, the whole package. Standard stuff. Standard stuff. 27 years that I thought about the picture on my desk of my daughter Riley, 23 now, finishing her master's degree. I missed her 10th birthday party because I was locked in a server room fighting off a live attack on an aircraft carrier group. I thought about the letter from the Secretary of Defense hanging on my wall, thanking me for saving lives. I thought about the white bards covered in my handwriting from the 2011 crisis, when half the Pacific Fleet lost their secure comms, and I brought them back online in 72 hours running on nothing but coffee and anger. All of that, standard stuff. I looked him dead in the eyes. You know Sentinel Protocol? The thing your investors brag about every quarter. He gave me that thin, confident smile. Of course. It's our crown jewel. I nodded once. Good. Don't ever forget that. Then I turned and walked out. Security was already waiting at my office. 2 guys in cheap suits, trying to look sorry. They took my laptop, my badge, my keycard. Everything. I walked out with exactly 3 things. My old Navy dog tags from the top drawer. A small thumb drive I never once plugged into their network. And every single line of code I'd ever written still burned into my brain. I didn't drive home. I went straight to the rusty anchor. That little dive bar off Highway 183 that hasn't changed since the 80s. Same sticky tables. Same jukebox playing old country. Same bartender Maria who's been pouring my beer since I was 28 and thought I was invincible. I ordered a Shiner Bock, slid into the corner booth, and just stared at the bottle for a long time. 27 years that I thought about Riley begging me to come watch her soccer games when she was little. How I always promised next weekend, while I was buried in emergency fixes. How one day she just stopped asking. I thought about my ex-wife Sarah packing her bags after our third missed anniversary in a row. She didn't scream. She just looked at me and said, "You already made your choice a long time ago, Ethan." And it wasn't us. She was right that I gave that company everything. My marriage, my time with my daughter, my health, my youth. And now they decided I was yesterday's news that I finished one beer, ordered another. The anger was hot at first. Then it cooled into something sharper, clearer, because Jackson Reed had no idea what he'd just done, that he didn't just fire an old engineer, that he woke one up. See, Sentinel Protocol wasn't cooked up in some fancy boardroom with consultants and PowerPoint slides. That IT was born in my garage, in the dark, while the rest of the world was sleeping, and back in 2004, when everything was chaos and the company was growing too fast for anyone to keep track. My old Navy brother Marcus Kane, now one of the best intellectual property lawyers in Washington, sat me down over whiskey and said, "Ethan, file the first patent yourself. Put your own name on it. Just as protection. You can sign it over to the company later when things calm down." I've seen too many good men get screwed by suits who forget who really built the house. So I did exactly that. April 2004. Inventor, Ethan James Hayes. Not Vanguard Cyber Solutions. Not any subsidiary. Just me. I always meant to transfer it properly. I really did. But then came the buyouts, the mergers, new investors every quarter, legal teams changing faster than the weather. The paperwork got lost in the storm, and I got busy keeping the country safe, busy training new kids, busy making Vanguard billions. I trusted them. They were family. Until the family decided family didn't matter anymore, that I finally left the bar around 3 in the afternoon and drove home. Duke, my German short-haired pointer, met me at the door with his tail low and his eyes worried. Dogs always know when the world shifts. That I scratched his ears, poured myself 2 fingers of the good bourbon I saved for special occasions, and opened the fireproof safe under my desk. Most people keep junk in there. I keep history, old contracts, faded notebooks, sketches that changed the world. And right at the bottom, untouched for almost 20 years, was a plain manila envelope. Inside, the original provisional patent for what became Sentinel Protocol. My handwriting, my diagrams, my signature, and clipped to it, Marcus's note from all those years ago. If they ever forget who really built their empire, this will remind them. I sat back in my leather chair, the one luxury I bought myself after we landed the massive Navy contract in 2015, took a slow sip of bourbon, and felt something click inside me. Not rage, clarity. Jackson Reed hadn't just fired me, he'd just handed me back the keys to everything he thought he owned. That I didn't sleep that night. At 5:30 the next morning, December 31st, I sat at my kitchen table with the old patent spread out in front of me like a battle map. The drawings looked simple now, almost childish compared to today's systems. But the core idea? The beating heart that made Sentinel unbeatable? That was still pure magic. And it was mine. I opened my personal laptop, the one that never touched company networks, and logged into my private, encrypted archive. 27 years of backups. Every draft, every email, every late-night note. I found the file Marcus had made for me years ago, back when we used to laugh about what if over wings and beer. Contract and version per template, last modified, August 2007. Just in case. I filled it in slowly. Date, timestamp, patent number, termination clause. Then I attached every piece of proof I'd ever need. 1 click. Submitted. That was it. Within hours, the United States Patent and Trademark Office database would update, and the most valuable technology Vanguard owned would officially, legally, belong to the man they'd just thrown away. To be why 7:15 my phone buzzed. Mason Ruiz, 25 years old, scary smart. The kid I personally taught how to think like a hacker so he could build better walls. His text was all caps. "Dude, what the hell is going on? Legal just pulled me into a room asking about Sentinel ownership records. They're saying your name is coming up as the registered inventor. Is this some kind of glitch?" I typed back, "Not a glitch. Call me when you're alone." He called 30 seconds later, whispering like someone might hear. "Ethan, they're losing their minds. Tyler, that new guy Jackson loves, keeps saying it's a database error from an old migration." But one of the paralegals pulled up the public record on her phone. "It's real. Your name, active status, reversion date, yesterday." I stayed quiet and let him keep going. "They've got an emergency all hands at 9. Jackson himself is coming down to engineering. He's telling everyone to ignore it and keep working on the big DoD demo next week like nothing's wrong." Mason's voice dropped even lower. If they try to show Sentinel to the generals without proper licensing, that's willful infringement. Triple damages. In federal court. Against defense contracts. I finally spoke. Keep your head down, kid. Update your resume. And whatever you do, don't sign anything today. He let out a nervous laugh. Already updated the resume last night, man. By noon, the entire building was on fire behind the scenes. The MY phone kept blowing up with forwarded emails from people who still had my back. Point one from a senior architect. Emergency legal meeting. They're telling us to pretend this is just administrative noise and focus on the demo. Jackson literally said, "We'll clean up paperwork after we close the deal." Another from a junior developer I mentored. "Tyler just told our whole pod that you took your toys and went home like a baby." Nobody believes him. We all know who wrote the engine that pays all our salaries. The AT-230 in the afternoon. Marcus Kane called. I answered with, "Tell me you see it too." He was laughing so hard he could barely talk. "Brother, I just refreshed the public database. It's live. Your name. Clear as day. Reversion triggered by involuntary termination without cause." He finally caught his breath. "You didn't just take back your patent, Ethan. You took back their entire future. They can't even turn on their own systems in a demo without your permission now. If they do, willful infringement. Triple damages. The kind of money that ends companies." I leaned back and looked out at the Texas Hill Country through my window. "How long until the board panics?" "They're already there," he said. "Stock's gonna take a hit the second word leaks." And word always leaks. That evening, December 31st, the call came. Private number. Lucas Hargrove, chairman of the board. Old school Texas oil money who moved into tech. The kind of man who only calls when millions are on the line. "Ethan, we need to meet. Tomorrow. 4 o'clock. Riverside Conference Center. Private suite. No press. No records." His voice sounded like he hadn't slept. I let the silence hang just long enough. "I'll be there. Bring strong black coffee." I hung up. January 1st, New Year's Day. I showed up in my navy dress blues. Not because I had to. Because I wanted them to remember exactly who they were dealing with. The private suite smelled like expensive cologne and pure fear. Jackson sat at the head of the table, arms crossed so tight his knuckles were white. Two lawyers beside him. Both young, both sweating. Lucas stood by the window staring at the river like it might save him. Brooke Callahan, the only executive who ever actually fought for my teams, sat off to the side. She gave me the smallest nod. Half respect, half terror. Nobody spoke for a full 10 seconds after I shut the door. I took the chair directly across from Jackson and laid a single folder on the table. Lucas finally broke the silence. "Ethan, thank you for coming. We've reviewed the documentation, the provisional patent, the reversion clause. It appears there was a significant oversight in our legal processes over the years." I didn't say a word. Jackson jumped in, voice tight. "This has clearly gotten out of hand. We're prepared to offer a very fair settlement. 6 months continued salary, a senior advisory role, full vesting of all your stock options. We can put this behind us and move forward together." I looked at him for a long moment. "Yesterday you told me history isn't the future. Today you want me to advise you." Brooke made a small sound, half cough, half laughed. I opened the folder. One sheet of paper, MY terms. I slid it across the table. "Read them out loud." Lucas picked it up. His face went pale as he read. 1. Immediate non-exclusive licensing payment of $65 million to cover operations through the current DoD contract cycle. 2. Full public acknowledgement in every press release, investor report, and government submission from this day forward that Ethan James Hayes is the original creator and sole inventor of the Sentinel Protocol family. 3. Jackson Reed resigns as CEO. Effective immediately. No severance package. 4. I am launching Apex Sentinel Technologies. Any employee who wishes to join me may do so freely. No non-compete enforcement. No legal threats. The room went so quiet you could hear the air conditioning. Jackson shot to his feet. "This is blackmail." I stayed seated. "No, Jackson. This is what happens when you fire the man who owns the foundation of your entire company. You wanted to get rid of legacy? Congratulations. You just activated the oldest document in your legal archives." Lucas tried to find his voice. $65 million. That's more cash than we have liquid right now. "I know your balance sheet better than you do," I said calmly. "I helped write it." I leaned forward. "You have 2 choices. Choice 1. You agree to every term on that paper. You get to keep breathing. You might even survive long enough to rebuild something honest. Choice 2. You refuse. I file for an emergency injunction tomorrow morning. Your big DoD demo next week gets canceled. Word spreads by lunchtime. Your stock crashes by market open Tuesday. Competitors smell blood. By the end of January, Vanguard Cyber Solutions is a cautionary tale they teach in business school. Your call. Brooke spoke for the first time, voice low. Half the senior engineers already have interviews lined up this week. Lucas. If this goes public ugly, you don't just lose Ethan. You lose everyone who actually knows how to build anything. Jackson looked around the room, searching for someone, anyone, to back him up. Nobody met his eyes. Lucas finally spoke, sounding 20 years older than when I walked in. We need until tomorrow morning to discuss. I stood up. You have until 8 a.m. after that. I start making phone calls, starting with Mason, Brooke, and every single person in that building who's tired of being treated like a disposable part. 8 o'clock. I walked out. The hallway felt different on the way back. Cleaner. Lighter. I got home, poured another bourbon, sat on the back porch with Duke's head on my knee, and watched the first stars come out. Tomorrow would decide everything. But one thing was already decided. The era of being quiet, loyal, invisible Ethan was over. The new era belonged to me. 8:07 the next morning, my phone rang. Lucas Hargrove. His voice was flat, defeated. We accept every term. The money is being wired today. Jackson submitted his resignation an hour ago. The public statement goes out this afternoon. And good luck with Apex. Ethan, we won't stand in your way. I didn't gloat. I just said, thank you. And hung up. By noon. $65 million hit my account. By 2 o'clock. The official press release went live on every financial news site. Vanguard Cyber Solutions announces a strategic licensing agreement with Ethan J. Hayes, the original architect and inventor of the Sentinel Protocol family of technologies. Mr. Hayes' groundbreaking work has been the cornerstone of our success for over 2 decades. We wish him every success in his new venture, Apex Sentinel Technologies. Their stock dropped 8% by close. They survived. Barely. 18 months later, Apex Sentinel Technologies started in a small loft above my favorite coffee shop. 12 people at first. Mason running architecture. Lucas handling systems integration. Brooke leading operations. No boardrooms. No buzzwords. No politics. Just builders doing the best work of their lives. That we created something better than Sentinel ever was. Full spectrum protection that predicts attacks before they even form. Our first major contract? Department of Homeland Security. $1.4 billion over 5 years. Today, Apex has 92 employees. A real office with big windows that actually open. A dog-friendly policy every day, not just Fridays. Duke has his own bed under my desk. Riley graduated top of her class. I was in the front. Our OWNO phone calls. No emergencies. No excuses. Just me, cheering louder than anyone. Vanguard is still around. Their stock is worth about half what it used to be. They rebranded Sentinel as Vanguard Next Gen Security Suite. Nobody in the industry is fooled. Jackson Reed? Last I heard, he's giving paid speeches about disruptive leadership to rooms full of middle managers. The irony is delicious. Sometimes, late at night, I drive past the old Vanguard building. The lights are still on. People still working crazy hours. That I don't feel hate anymore. Just peace. 27 years is a long time to give someone else your best years. But those years taught me something they can never take away. Your worth doesn't vanish just because someone stops seeing IT. IT waits patiently for the day they realize the house they're living in was built brick by the man they threw out in the cold. And when that day comes, you don't burn the house down. You just build a better one. And you make sure they can see it from their windows every single day. That's my story. From forgotten to unstoppable. From fired to free. If this hit you in the feels, hit that subscribe button. I've got more stories about people who refuse to stay down. And remember, sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's just becoming everything they said you never could be. See you in the next one.